Welcome back to Local Decision 2020. I'm Rusty Ray. We're joined today by Anoka County Commissioner out of District 3, Robyn West. Robyn, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. This is, I consider it an opportunity and a privilege to be here.
We appreciate that. And this will be running for how many terms now on the county board?
This will be the 5th term, but one of those terms was a short term.
Okay, I see.
This will likely be a short term as well. Census redistricting.
Redistricting is a distinct possibility, especially in your district with
the
growth.
growth
things.
is crazy.
Yeah. Certainly. We're going to see that in a couple of the districts, I'm sure.
Actually, the whole county.
The whole county.
Yeah.
What this year in 2020 is different about running for this office and the whole campaign process for you?
Well, this is one of the worst years of all of our lifetime, but I really appreciate the opportunity I have as a commissioner to be part of the solution in the making things work in the future. But as far as campaigning, at first I thought I wasn't going to be able to door knock, but I put my mask on and I keep it on all the time. Not when I'm walking from house to house, but and people appreciate it, and you have all kinds of different attitudes of people, but I have never had anybody be upset that I was knocking on their door. Recently, I had a guy apologize for being rude because I knocked on his door and he said, "Sorry, but I just got diagnosed with COVID today."
Okay.
And so he was very careful, and I'm always careful. And so I was driving by his house a few days ago, and I stopped by and I said, "How you doing?" And he was well. He had played horseshoes that day. So
that's a good sign.
But the people have been great, and you know, because they're so cooped up, they're happy to talk to you.
You're not the first person who's told us that. That people are looking for a chance to socialize or talk, or in this case, I guess, exchange some ideas. Or what are people saying to you about what they're looking for or what they're concerned about on a county level?
Well, I usually introduce my thoughts as I'm very concerned about fiscal responsibility, and we've done such a good job of cutting debt in Anoka County, so I let them know that, and their face brightens up. They think it's great. But what they really get very pleased about my stand on supporting our local law enforcement. Very strong response to that.
And because I would imagine, because of all of the things that have happened this year and the things that have been in the headlines and the discussions, or even in some cases the demonstrations that are right here in our backyard, that's on top of people's minds?
Yes, well, at 109th and University Avenue, when Minneapolis was on fire, they broke a window in the Speedway gas station. That's how close they were.
Okay.
And of course, we know they were in Northtown.
Right.
And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you have to have a police force in order to have peace and calm in communities.
Are there specific examples of that support that you're championing and the efforts that you've taken or that the county board have taken here, especially recently? We've had conversations with the sheriff and other law enforcement about what's going on and the way they've tried to reach out to the community. What do you tell people about what the county board and you specifically are doing?
Well, I talk to them. I kind of repeat the mantra of not defunding the opposite, not defunding our law enforcement. And with the sheriff's office, he's a individually elected person, but we work with him budget-wise. He lets us know what his needs are. And sometimes when I'm talking about making sure that we provide the tools that are needed for our deputies to be safe and well-trained when they encounter situations, and an example where we have worked in that before all this happened wasn't long ago. Sheriff Stewart asked for body cams.
Right.
Well, there was no argument at the time, and so they've been using them for a long time now. But we sure saw how important body cams were during this unrest time.
Certainly. When you speak with folks, do a lot of them ask you about Highway 65?
Yeah. That's another thing I champion. I'm so glad now that the study that they have to start with when they do a road project is complete. But one thing, as I looked at the design concepts they've created, we had a virtual meeting day before yesterday.
Yes.
And it was very long. Lots of the public were there and making comments. And I see why it's very important that the approval of the city and the county that these corridors go through is imperative. Particularly, there's one item in their design where they want to remove the interchange that's already at County Road 10.
Right.
And that adds more lights, where our whole problem is lights. And I know that that interchange in that style takes up a lot of space, but it is a place that traffic moves without getting in the way of each direction.
Is this the length of time that this continues to take, and the study and the care being taken, if some folks want to call it that, some folks may want to call it something else, but is that because of all these jurisdictions and the city, as you mentioned, and the county, but it's a state project, so there has to be all of that taken into account? Is that just one reason that it seems like it's taken a long time to get to even this point, but it still seems like it's going to be a long time before the dirt may turn on seeing changes?
That's true. I've lived in Blaine for 30 years. I moved here because it was out in the country. And now the city has more than doubled since I moved here. But they should have fixed this road. They should have at least been in collaboration with the city as the development grew, because that has caused a lot of the problem for increasing the capacity of the road. But 20 years ago, it was above capacity, I think. I mean, it felt like it. I remember it's been that long that you have to sit at 109th to turn on or go across.
Yeah.
65, yes, it has been too long. It's neglected, I think. But that's all about how much you interact with the state as elected people and even the citizens to make sure that they realize how important it is. It takes time. So now 109th has to have a study. That's what's discussed in that meeting. And that's how things happen. I get that, because they do have to realize it interferes with so many things under the ground and especially the development. So it will be 2024 before we see anything, I think.
Okay. Is there anything that was before the county that the board was looking at, or anything pertinent to what needed to be happened that kind of got pushed aside by COVID, or maybe the county board wasn't able to focus on certain things that you were already looking ahead to or already starting work on, that COVID, with the immediate decisions that had to be made, that COVID kind of pushed aside this year? Somebody else might be bigger thinker than me about that. It's been so occupied my consciousness. I think some of the progress that Highway 10, is very far along, but still no shovels. Yep. And maybe that has been interfered with a lot, but we have been fortunate enough to receive very good funding for that. So for Highway 10.
Yeah, for Highway 10.
$10 million in federal money, but then some other things too.
There was
correct?
$40 million that came in before, and the $10 million is additional.
I see.
Forgot what but that was from the feds, just came a few days ago, or a week ago or so.
The county received the CARES Act funding and was able to start distributing it pretty quickly, including to some nonprofits, larger scale. As I understand it, those that were addressing immediate needs of citizens, whether they were housing or support or things like that. How important was the county to be able to get that money quickly to the groups that needed it?
Oh, we wanted to. And as far as the businesses, we put the news out there to apply. There were $10,000 grants for small businesses, and it had eligibility requirements. But after it had been open for a week or 10 days, we didn't have enough applications. So we extended it, and that day that we had the meeting where we had to extend it, I came home from the office and I just started going to the local businesses. There was I remember a nail shop. Carol's didn't know about it.
They didn't know about it?
Yeah, our beloved Carol's restaurant.
Wow.
Well, they're so busy running their business and trying to figure out how to navigate all the problems it's created for them. So,
Well, those restrictions were in place for a particular reason. I mean, not restrictions, the guidelines or the parameters, I should say, were in place for specific reasons, correct? And then
Yeah.
it kind of had to be expanded to try to draw in more. And yet still there were some who just maybe weren't aware, like you said, they were too busy, or are the parameters still going to be, are they going to be expanded at all? Did you get enough
well,
businesses?
it ended last Friday.
Right.
So I haven't heard the tally on that, but we will if it didn't get complete. You know, a lot of people will apply, but there's some reason they don't qualify.
Right.
So I haven't heard if it's full yet, but
And
we'll keep opening as long as there is more funds.
And it sounds like the county did a lot of work in the Regional Economic Development Office to make the process as simple for those businesses and nonprofits as possible, and it's not a burden of paperwork and things to jump through.
Yes, and you know, this Jaquel Hader that
Right.
works for us, she's just great. And
She's been very helpful to us.
our
getting the
workforce,
news. Yeah.
good,
Right.
yes. Our workforce center, it's Career Force now they call it, is the busiest workforce training center in the state, or one of the very busiest. But there's a website for people to go to. It's called careerforcemn.com or Anoka County Success, which is Jaquel's .org. And those are two resources for employers, career seekers, job seekers, and people who are wanting to be trained, or even incumbent employees.
Okay.
They appeal to.
Maybe can advance in their field or something
Right,
like that.
so they
I
can
see.
increase their skills.
Are there things like that that have been put in place, or programs or initiatives because COVID caused the need for that, whether it's to innovate how the county does business, whether it's the remote, people can come and have an appointment virtually with a county staff member, or whatever the case may be, that you think will continue on after COVID, hopefully soon, will become a thing that we're not as concerned about and people can get back to normal. Is the county going to be different in the way it does business because of this?
Many ways will be different, but the Career Force and Jaquel's was started without that thought of that. But because they were on the ground running, they were able to be much quicker response to help people who had been impacted by COVID. But we are changing many things. One of the things is remote working. Right. We've always discussed that, but now we were forced in a week to figure out how to do it, and we've got quite a few employees, and likely will stay remote. Another thing, we've created these virtual office. You probably heard about those plexiglass rooms.
Yep.
And that is something that we did because of COVID that is going to stay, and who knows, it may expand if it's highly effective. It's really good for people so they don't have to travel all the way to Anoka or wherever.
Right. Real quick here, we have a couple more minutes. I wanted to ask you this: when folks challenge someone in a seat, that person is looking for things to point out. Opponents for the various district races, a couple of them have pointed out the issue of public input at county board meetings. I know earlier this year, way before even COVID, there was a vote, and it was voted down to allow a public input session at the Tuesday county board meetings. Now, I understand that the committees offer that, and that's taken advantage of by some individuals in particular who take advantage of it quite a bit, but it happens that they're allowed there to speak. But for those who are running for this office, or those in the community who want that chance to speak, do you think that will be taken up again at some point? Is there a reason why it's not allowed like it is at a city council or something like that, where 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes for someone to come up and speak to the county board?
Well, that was the way things were done when I came there, and of course, because it's always the way things have been done, isn't a reason to keep doing it. But the fact that we do it during our committee meetings gives people a way more of a face-to-face, and then we're right there, so after they've made their public comment, we can converse with them. At our county board meetings, we're already voting on it, so if they have an opinion about something, I mean, it's already been through the committee. I don't think it will be totally neglected to discuss the possibility, but it seems like it's not effective because we're there voting on the issues that are at hand. And I don't think comments are not going to make us change our mind because we've already discussed it in the committee.
And in the work session and
Yeah,
places like that.
yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. I just thought I would ask. It's been
Well,
brought up before
I'm
in
glad
that
you
chair.
did.
Sure.
Yeah.
Robyn, that's the time that we have today. I appreciate it very much.
Well, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here and just let folks know what I'm thinking about things. And
Okay.
yeah.